and welcome to How to Deal When the Shit Gets Real podcast. I'm Marietta.
And I'm Connie, and today we're here with Michelle Lang. So, Michelle, how do you deal when shit gets real?
Usually I like to drink some wine, but I can't do that for a little while longer.
Oh, God, yeah, tell me about it.
So tell us a little bit about yourself just to get us kind of rolling here.
Sure, yeah, I'm Michelle Lang. I am the founder of Veteran Help Point, which is a nonprofit that connects veterans and their families to local resources using an online national database. And I kind of started that due to some stuff that my husband and I ran into and kind of talked to other people and realized that this is a really big issue that people can't they can't figure out what's in their backyard. And I think it's really important to connect service members with local help that's going to help them a little bit faster and be more personal.
Yeah, absolutely. My husband's in the military as well, so I totally know what you mean about having limited resources and not having everything you need. So I think it's wonderful that you guys started this organization. So if you want to kind of take us back to the beginning, how did all of this start? I mean, I know it's probably a long journey, but whatever you want to start with.
Yeah, so in 2019, I guess it was like the summer of 2019, my husband decided to leave the Army. We were in Georgia, and he kind of had to make like a really quick decision of either move our family out to Fort Irwin, California, where he wouldn't see us, but a couple days a month, and we'd be stuck in the middle of the desert, and he probably wouldn't be able to continue his career. Or does he just get out of the military and start a civilian job and do something else? So he decided to get out, move us back to Pennsylvania, where we're both from. And so we thought that was great. That was the closest we've ever lived to family. We thought we were going to have a lot of support. Easy peasy, whatever. We'll just take it as we come, because that's what you do whenever you're in the military. You just figure it out on the fly. So we move up there, and it's all right. But my husband, he, planned to do this for a career. His whole life, this is what he wanted to do, was at least 20 years in the military and serve. And now he was in a position where he wasn't serving. He lost his identity, and he really started to spiral and grieve his time in the service and kind of who he was. Like, he had nothing to hold on to because there was just his identity was stripped. So he reached out to the VA to try and get in, see a therapist there. They denied him care. So then I tried to find him a therapist where we were, and we were in a pretty big city outside of Philadelphia. So, there should have been a lot of resources. So
right, you would think.
Found for him, the therapist I found for him had no understanding or could not relate to the military experience. So just generally unhelpful. And he started to regain a sense of who he was and kind of gain his footing by reaching out to his friends that were in and realizing that a lot of people go through this. So that camaraderie helped. But then once we kind of got on the other side of this, we realized there's a ton of resources out there that we could have utilized. But I had no idea because they weren't coming up in a Google search. And that was really, really frustrating, because whenever you search for veteran help, it's like the national organizations are going to come up, and that's not what we needed at the time. We needed veteran help in our town.
Right.
So during all of that, like, my husband and I's relationship just shattered.
Oh, no.
I ended up actually getting pregnant right away with our second son. And then after that, it was like, we were strangers. He had very bad depression. I just thought, like, we're going to get divorced. Yeah. During that time of him trying to figure out, who he was, he actually signed up for a deployment because he was Army Reserve. And so he was like, I signed up for a deployment. We were driving down the road one day, and he was like, oh, by the way, when I deployed in October. And I'm like, you didn't run that by me.
You're like, excuse me, I'm sorry, what?
Okay. So, my kid's going to be 3 months old at that time. You didn't think we had a lot to work through before that.
Sounds like he
Um,
was definitely desperate for something that was familiar. Like,
But-
I know deployments,
For
I know how to
sure.
handle them. I'm going to just go back to what I know.
Yeah, he really wanted that sense of purpose, and he wanted that identity again, and to fill that role, and to feel like he's, serving his country, being helpful, and everything. And I get that he is a helper for sure. Jarring to me when I found that.
Oh, I bet. So was there anything that like started the like split of your marriage?
I kept saying, I wish there was a support group for people that were living with somebody with depression, because we were living in two separate realities. Like, I could tell him that the sky was blue, and he would just argue with me that it was green, and that I was being malicious because I said it was blue. Like,
Oh, sounds
that
like somebody
was,
I know.
Yikes.
it
It's
was,
not fun.
it was bizarre. So I ended up putting myself in therapy, because I was like, listen, the only thing I can change is myself. I really want this marriage to work. So if I'm being a problem, I need to fix that. This is out of my wheelhouse. I don't know how to, and I didn't have anybody that could relate to this. Like, I didn't have any friends or family that had somebody in their lives like this. So I didn't have advice or guidance, and it was so, so lonely. So I put myself in therapy and was like, I've got to figure out how to deal with this so I can, figure out the best path forward. And then eventually he was able to get help, and we were able to go to marriage counseling before he deployed, and our marriage was great. And thank goodness we did that, because, deployments are hard. He was gone with COVID. It was a longer deployment. So it was about closer to a year.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, so we were lucky to really turn it around and work really hard before he left. But then while he was gone, it was like, now I feel like I don't have a sense of purpose. And I know that everything that I went through, I'm meant to do something with that pain and that struggle, but I don't know what it is. So he ended up doing the Army Reserve full time. And so we're down here at Fort Bragg now. So whenever we moved to Fort Bragg, I was talking to more and more people. They had similar experiences, like just not being able to find local help, or not understanding what help was out there. And so I was like, this is ridiculous. We have smart people that are able to Google, able to research, but we still can't find the help that we need. And I know it's out there. So why don't I just create a database where people can see what's in their backyard? And so we moved to Fort Bragg in September, and I started the business in November.
Nice.
Amazing. Wow. A move and a new business all in one swing. Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So is Veteran Help Point basically like Google, like you said, except for veterans looking for help?
It's a little bit more focused. So you're going to come there knowing that there's veteran-centric resources, and there's 10 categories of help. So we've limited to 10 categories right now, and that's anything from primary care to fitness, military benefits. Sort of like, I look at it as like a holistic approach. So if you're suffering in one area of your life, there's another one that's weak behind that. So you want to be able to kind of nip those in the bud and find what the help that's available to you. And a lot of resources, like, you can go and they do work with like core, maybe job assistance, housing and benefits, because those are a big one that people struggle with. So I wanted to make sure that, if your mental health needs taken care of, you can get plugged in there. You can also get plugged in, a fitness community, holistic therapy community. When people's finances struggle, usually their mental health is struggling, their marriage is struggling. It's not far behind. So I try and take a holistic approach with those resources.
It's like a house, it's like when one thing's going, everything else is going. Like my mom, she had like her AC went out and her water heater went out, and it's like and everything happens all at the same time. It's never just one. It's all I'm saying. It's the same thing with your life.
Exactly.
Never just one problem.
Yeah, it's like dominoes. Like when one fails, another one is gonna
It's
tumble.
behind it. Yeah, there's one behind it always.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have a question. Do you use Veteran Help Point? Not health. I want to say health, but it's not.
I mean, I've used some resources that I found. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually just finished well, I'm working with a mindfulness and meditation guy. He's a Gold 4 veteran, and he has a nonprofit to help veterans and spouses. And so I was like, look, I need help because I don't do well after I have a baby. I usually get a little bit worse than
Postpartum.
baby blues. Yeah. With
Yeah.
my second, it was really, really bad. With my first, it wasn't that bad. But so I was like, I need to get out ahead of this.
Oh yeah, that's a
And
great idea.
also I can't juggle running a business and being a mom to a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. It was like the joy was just sucked out of my days, and I wasn't being present with my kids. And I'm like the thermostat for my house. Like if I'm hot and angry, everybody else is frantic and running around trying to like, don't piss off mom or whatever. And it's not cool to feel like that. So
No.
I've been working with a guy that does that, and I just finished like a 10-week intensive mental fitness. So yeah, I've been knocking it out with mental health resources.
Good. I mean,
I love
we
mindful
all-
meditation.
Yeah, I was really intimidated by it at first, and I honestly didn't want to do it, but I knew I needed to. But the way that he's taught me has made it like I do it every day, like every
like
day.
a workout. It's like a workout for your mind.
Yeah, and you can do it anywhere. Like I had a doctor's appointment today, and I was really anxious about it. So it's just like, just be mindful in the doctor's office and take a second. And gosh, it was my blood pressure lowered, and I could get through it without feeling like, a maniac. So it was cool.
Yeah, and I feel like for doctor's appointments when you're pregnant, it's like, at least for me, it's like in and out. It's like they measure you, they do the sound, any questions, and then you go and like, and I feel so fast paced that I'm like, after I get to my car and I'm like, wait a minute, I had questions.
Yeah.
Why did I not remember questions when they were asking me if I had questions?
Yeah, I know. And I've realized because I wasn't being present in the moment, I'm never present, never, ever, ever present. So whenever I practice mindfulness and can be present, like I can ask questions. And today I had a doctor who actually left the room to go solve one of my questions. She was like, I don't have
that's
an answer
awesome.
for you. And I was like, this is amazing. I just asked, my husband would be so proud of me because I always call him the tattletale. Now I don't know if this hospital allows you, but before COVID, your support person was allowed to come. And my husband always tattletale on me like, oh, she's feeling sick. She's feeling crampy. Oh, she gets really hot or whatever. And
Mhm.
I'm like, can you just stop? Like, just stop. I don't tell
They don't
doctors
need to know all these details.
Yeah. So I've been getting better.
Yeah, and then sometimes I'm like, wait, is that because I'm a first time mom, so I was like, wait, is that important? Nah, is it important? Let's look at Google. Let's see if other people have had that, and if they don't, then like I'll ask. But otherwise, I'm just gonna like be quiet and get out of here.
Yeah.
But I hate going to doctor's offices, so
I think we all do. I mean, who really likes the doctor?
it's true. And then when it comes to those weekly appointments, it's like, oh God, doctor again. No, it's time again.
Mm-hmm. It's never ending. Yeah.
Yep.
So what advice would you give to military spouses who are dealing either with depression themselves or a spouse that has depression?
Definitely reach out and talk to a therapist, even if you're not the one that's going through it. It's very, very difficult to understand what your spouse is dealing with and feeling like it's not all it's very hard to be in that situation and not feel resentful. So just know that it's totally normal and well within reason to feel anger, to feel resentment, hurt, sadness. Like you feel it all. And it's not normal to feel that way. That shouldn't be your baseline. So go talk to a therapist. And if you don't like your therapist, you can fire your therapist. It's totally cool.
So it seemed like it was easier for you to get therapy than it was for your husband. Can you explain why, what happened?
Well, the VA situation is a little bit nuanced. So when we came down here, we actually, my husband worked with somebody that was investigating VAs, and that VA that he was seen at, that he was denied care, had been under investigation for
Oh
similar
my
things in the
God,
past.
that's crazy.
So that was the luck of the draw. However, that does happen. So they denied him care because they said that he makes too much money,
Well, that's
and
bullshit. I
couldn't be
hate
seen.
that stuff.
It was so weird. I mean, he served at that time. He had served 8 years in the military. So it was like, I don't know, that it was bizarre. It was
And what
bizarre,
does
but
money have anything to do with needing care? Like,
I still never heard that before. So that was a first for me. But when when he was seeking care, is like, I need it. I need that care.
And you need it now. You don't need it weeks after fighting for, like,
Yeah.
no, I need the care.
Yeah. So he didn't have the fight in him to be like, no,
Yeah.
that's not right. And I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, I don't know anything. I just decided to start learning military vernacular and lingo. Like that previous, in like, actually like take interest in my husband's job. So I was still very much learning the ropes, because before that I was like, listen, I have my career and my stuff, you do your stuff and move us around the country. Like, that's how it works. But yeah, being able to find somebody that really could relate to a military experience was needed for him. Whereas I didn't really need that. Mine was more of a relational self-development issue. Does that make sense? So like,
yeah.
that's part of the problem, is being able to find somebody that has experience working with the military community, whether that's, working with military community and PTSD, TBIs, military sexual trauma, things like that, or as a veteran themselves, because there's a lot of veterans that get out and go into the mental health care field. But when you're trying to find those, they don't advertise themselves as a veteran or a resource for veterans. You have to dig a little bit, and it's really hard to go through therapists
or know somebody.
Yeah, it's discouraging whenever you sit down with somebody and you just don't click. You know what I mean? It makes it hard to go see somebody else.
I just noticed that too. I've talked to therapists myself, and I never noticed until we lived in Hawaii that there were certain therapists that would list that they had experience with veterans or PTSD. Because you're right, like, it's not normally a thing that they list, but it must be starting to become a thing, or because just Hawaii has so many military bases that they know that they need to put that information out there.
Yeah, it's definitely a rapidly growing field, like between veteran mental health and then holistic resources that are geared towards veteran mental health. It's really, really booming right now.
And you started that ball rolling. That's wonderful.
Or our hope is that, because a lot of these resources are small, right? So they have trouble advertising, or maybe, you start a nonprofit has an average lifespan of a year. Whereas
short.
Yes, very short. And then the average lifespan of a business, like a for-profit business, is 5 years. So a lot of people get into nonprofits because their heart is in the right place, and they don't think about making money because it's a nonprofit. They don't think about like paying their overhead, paying their bills, paying for marketing, things like that. So they struggle. So we're hoping that we can be a facilitator and, facilitate traffic towards them. And if they're, because we also like to vet the resources too. We just don't want to say like, oh, hey, this guy will, work out of his truck and help you with his military benefits.
Oh God. Yeah.
So, we want to help these nonprofits succeed too, by getting them the clients that they're looking for.
Yeah. So from the start of like your idea to start this nonprofit till now, walk us through like the process that you had to go through. How did you find all these resources? How did you put it together? Stuff like that.
Flying by the seat of my pants. It's really
I love
what
it.
is.
Bootstrapping.
Yeah. essentially. I did some research. I talked to some other business owners. I was really, fate kept being on my side in this.
Mhm.
And so it was really interesting, the people that would approach me. Like, my sister met somebody in an airport, and he, I mean, she talks to everybody. And she met him in the airport in February, and somehow stayed in touch with him. And he called me one day. I was like, I'd like to be your business advisor. I heard about your idea. He has a heart for veterans in the military community. And my sister was talking to him about it. So, like, he helped advise on a lot of things initially, getting lawyers set up, things like that. I didn't waste money or time trying to figure that stuff out myself. I paid a lawyer to do it because I wanted it done correctly. And I made sure, like, I didn't skimp on things. And I use social media to reach out to people. And my husband did the same. And it was amazing, the people that I connected with that were like willing to help, give advice on how to build a website. I teach myself how to do web development and build a
Mhm.
website. I reached out to KP on Instagram, and he started talking to me. And then he was like, you need to go get on LinkedIn. Da, da, da. So then I started talking to people on LinkedIn, and turns out, like, I've made really great friends on LinkedIn. And through months of talking to people, they keep feeding me resources that they know, that they've vetted. Now I have a guy that's redoing my website from scratch. It's just been networking, really networking and reframing my timeline, because I wanted to get this done right away. I wanted to get it done out of the gate. I felt like I could do that. Once I get into it, I realized I really need to pull the reins back on it and do it properly. I thought I was doing it properly, but I'm a very firm believer in having a strong foundation. And I really, really wanted that strong foundation, even if it was going to take, a couple more months to get that done than what I wanted, and wrestling with that because I'm very
Yeah, that's
competitive.
hard.
So I felt like I was losing.
Yeah, that's hard to do, especially when
um,
your heart is in such a passionate place. It's hard to tell your heart to slow down.
yeah, it made me feel, because there's a lot of times that I wanted to quit. I'm just like, this is this is so big. There's people that are probably doing something similar, and there are people that are doing things that are similar, um, and I'm like, I'm not making as much progress. Who am I to do this? Like, who am I to start this business? Honestly, I have two toddlers, and I just found out I was pregnant with a third. Like, what? I'm on crack. And really networking and building my community has been crazy. It's been life changing to be able to do that and be supported by, people that see value in this mission and want to help.
It's also just a great reminder too that there are still good people out there. Like there are
Oh
good
my
people that
gosh,
want to
yeah,
help and be a part of your journey.
yeah. I It was such a good reminder, because I've never considered myself a people person ever. Like, I would say I'm not a people person. I don't like crowds. I don't like to be around people. Really, like, that was my own insecurity talking. I am a total people person. Like, I love networking. I love being able to talk and meet with people that have similar passions, or, have hearts for helping, because just doing this has reminded me that there is so much good in the world, and it just does not get talked about as much.
Yeah, for sure. So, where do you see veteran help point like in the future?
So our not our end goal, but our main goal is to be a national database. So right now we're focusing on the Southeast region, getting that really strong and built nicely. And then we're going to expand northeast and then go over to the West Coast, work our way that way.
Mhm.
But I really want it to be a community of resources. I don't really like saying that it's a database. I want it to be a community of resources where these resources have the same mission that we do, where, they're there because they have a heart for helping, and that's what you're going to find there. So I don't want people that are not in it for the right reasons. Um, I want a community where people can feel love and accepted wherever they are, because it's crazy. You could some people can be totally not bothered by leaving the military, and some people could be bothered and restless 5 years later. But everybody's journey is different, so I want people to be able to come to this website, community page, wherever they are in their journey. So I have it set up for people that are transitioning to Vietnam veterans, because I want everybody to be able to use it.
Yeah, because everybody deserves to be able to find help.
Yeah, and I've noticed that there's a lot of programs that are specifically for post 9/11 vets.
Yeah.
And that's great, but there's a whole couple of generations of veterans before that have repeatedly been kicked to the curb.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
I want to make sure that they feel very included in this process, because that was actually one of the reasons too. Whenever Chris and my husband were living in Pennsylvania, our neighbor, he was a Vietnam vet. And he and his partner, they were not married, but Pennsylvania saw them as married, but the military didn't, because they had been together for 30 some years. Well, they were getting evicted from their house and they didn't have anywhere to live. They didn't have anywhere to go. So we ended up helping them find a veterans home for him to go to that was privately run. And we found her a place to go to. And Chris and I were just like, what would they have done if we did not live beside them? Because their kids lived halfway across the country. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know who to call.
It's terrible.
So that generation and whoever is, helping take care of them really needs an easy place to plug in and find the help that they need.
Yeah, absolutely. So for people that want to, do you guys take donations?
We do. Yeah. Donations and volunteers.
Perfect. So if any of our listeners want to donate or volunteer, we will put the link in the show notes.
Yes, we have a PayPal for donations, and we have a link in our Instagram bio for volunteer form and donations.
So if you could be stationed or live anywhere, where would you live?
I get really, really jealous of the people that are stationed in England.
Oh, I like it.
I did a semester abroad in England, and I never once felt homesick. I loved it there. I bawled like a baby when I had to leave and come home.
Oh,
I still miss it. Definitely. But we would never go there, because I think that's more of the Air Force community, but
still,
maybe
you're
maybe
I'd
retirement
like to go there though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
You could retire there.
I would totally love it. Yeah.
Yeah, we had to always post these houses in Europe that are 65,000 euros. And it's like, hey, want to go retire here? And they're beautiful little cottages and stuff. It's yes, please.
Yeah, there's this little Instagram page. It's called Cheap Properties or something like that, and they always show properties in Italy and England and Sweden and Norway, and they're literally these beautiful little houses, and they're cheap, and it's just I will take them all, please.
I know. Yeah, it's so gorgeous. My college was in the Cotswolds in England. So you go right outside the city, and it's those big rolling hills with the thatched roofs and stuff like that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Sheep in the countryside. It's oh my gosh. It was a real life Hallmark movie.
That's amazing.
The grass is always greener on the other side, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Is there any final thought you would like to leave with our listeners?
If you're interested in volunteer work with Veteran Help Point, we definitely can use help in resource development and vetting resources. We love help. And I work with people. Our database right now is being developed for the Southeast region, but I've been working with people one-on-one, all over the country right now to connect. I've been from California to Indiana, Virginia, wherever. I can help if you reach out or point somebody in the right direction, because I'm going on maternity leave here in the next couple of days. But
We just got back from my maternity leave.
yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, and I'm a huge advocate for mental health. So if you feel like I just want people to know that your baseline doesn't have to be miserable. Like my baseline before I really started this intensive program was at nighttime, the joy was sucked from me. I didn't think like I was good at being a mom because I didn't find the enjoyment in it. I was starting to lose joy in, leadership and business ownership. And that's not your baseline. It does not need to be like that. So, if you're feeling like that, no problem is too small to go talk to a therapist about. So don't feel weird about seeking help for something that you might think is insignificant, because it's not.
For sure.
That's great advice. Everybody needs to hear it.
All right. Well, this is How to Deal When Shit Gets Real, guys. New episodes are coming every Wednesday now. And me and Rietta will be doing a breakdown episode following each guest interview. And that is our new little thing that we're doing. See you guys next episode.